Hello, we are here with David Bauer. He's the other half of the Heart of SignDance Collective. And we want to know more about this company today and about him, obviously. And here he is. So he's been very kind to give us his time. And our first question is to you. Can you please talk to us a little bit about SignDance Collective, the company? What is it? Who is SignDance Collective? And when and why did you start working together?
I went to study at a course called Theatre of the Deaf in Reading, and we met a lot of professionals on that course, and there was a group there, SignDance Collective, and that was when I first met the group, and they had been going already for about 3 or 4 years. I joined them straight off study, and stayed with them more or less consistently for most of my professional career.
That's nice. I didn't know that.
And yes, so primarily, it's the art form at the heart is investigating contemporary dance with sound theatre and sound language and what happens when you fuse them together. But it's developed from that heart into lots of different theatrical artistic mediums of music, film, digital art, so it's become quite a wide range of art forms with SignDance theatre at the heart, at the heart of it.
So our second question is, how are the shows and productions you do now different from the ones you were doing at the beginning? And how has the company evolved during your time finding your own creative language? How has everything changed?
At the beginning, on a personal level, I think was very much about exploring contemporary dance as coming from a theatre background, looking at different dance techniques of contemporary dance, Horton, Limon, Graham technique, and then being asked to look at how to bring some of those methodologies of techniques into sound theatre, and to see what we could come out with. The theatre pieces, the dance theatre pieces, since the early 90s to now, have changed quite a lot. I mean, our work has always been very diverse, and one production having lots of different qualities from the next production along. And there has always been an overlap, obviously, because you have the same people with new people coming into the production. So obviously it does change in some ways, but in other ways it's always been a kind of a through line of investigation in terms of the art form. And obviously sometimes we take some of the old ideas or elements from the preceding project and bring them forward into the latest project. So if I was to compare in between spaces, say for example, or Carthage, to say something like On Smooth Silence, which is one of the first productions I was involved in. That was about 25 years ago. It would be really hard to explain the difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one fundamental difference would be digital technology, film. Uh, the use of live music within the work has become a lot more in depth. Um, uh, the evolving relationship between, say, the main collaborators within the organization has also evolved too. There's a different relationship, a different dynamic in
Mm-hmm.
how we work together artistically. Uh, and my role within the organization has changed a lot. I've gone from being an apprentice to having some level of responsibility to share with new members the development of the art form, and to uh, introduce and sort of educate a kind of a deaf awareness,
Mm-hmm.
disability access awareness to new members within the organisation too, which is a uh, really interesting challenge because there's so much philosophy and
Yes.
ethical research involved in that too.
How do you choose which plays or which shows to make? How does that process work?
Yeah, primarily, first and foremost, is how we bring with us into the workshop, into the studio, access tools, which we share with you later
Mm-hmm.
in the course. Those maybe how to visualize what has been said, sign language, sign theatre, how to place yourself in a space so that people can access information that's been shared, giving basic training techniques to new directors,
Mm-hmm.
by building bridges across that way and building those access tools into the creative process, and bringing new concepts of access and taking out outmoded concepts that are no longer applicable to our working methodology,
Mm-hmm.
uh, bringing in new uh, concepts of personhood into the creative process, exploring how we relate and connect as people, and whether any of those um, developments in how we relate can be brought forward into the creative process and explored within the development of the scene or choreography or dramaturgy, uh, sort of shining the spotlight on things that have a contemporary relevance
Mm-hmm.
uh, in terms of what we want to say ethically or philosophically or politically as an organization. Um, so I mean, we started primarily looking at the relationship between deaf and hearing artists. What could be the result of that collaboration artistically, culturally, and that has become much more diverse now. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, we still look at the relationship between deaf and hearing artists, but we also look at the relationship between across cultures, across different disabilities, across different gender identities,
Mm-hmm.
across the relationship between um, all of those kind of identities have become sort of a lot more crucial to our work. And
That's really interesting.
I suppose we have always been like that anyway, but it's
Mm.
become much more significant in this contemporary time because of what's happening in the world. So much conversation about that at the moment.
Yeah.
And for us as an organisation, it's always been a natural base bedrock to work in that way. And for us, it's the most creative situation for cultures to develop, rather than just have a monoculture, just all people one way, or people like that. I suppose that can be interesting in its own way. To have all deaf people who don't speak, who only use sign language is fine. But I suppose diversity lies at the heart of our organisation. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, what are the challenges that you personally face when you start a project, if any? So, how do you approach that work?
Well, one of the most interesting challenges is how to relate the working methodology in a way which is clear and succinct for people that are new to the process. And I've noticed that the simplest is always the best way to do it. If you go over a certain line, then it kind of pitches the project in one direction where you are being for the other rather than being for the south in the essentially sensible word. So you have to ensure that building that basis of collaboration is kept within the boundaries of naturalness, so that it doesn't become an artificial. It doesn't become a situation where people feel that they obliged to make themselves accessible in any particular way, which requires them to operate in a way where they don't have the skills to be able to do that, because it's a step-by-step process of learning at each individual's speed of to pick up the new information.